Oh my God. It like just said recording in progress.
I know. And on my side of it, it asks like by continuing this meeting, you're consenting to be recorded.
Oh.
So you can either continue or leave meeting. I just learned this yesterday and now I'm experiencing it on the YouTube. I know. Zoom is like getting their shit together finally and telling people to consent.
Well, everyone, welcome to the Client Experience Revolution podcast, where Zoom is recording and asking consent. So consent is important on the Client Experience Revolution podcast. Yeah. And I consent to a badass episode with Monique Gaffney. And Miss Gaffney, do you also consent to this badassery?
I consent full-heartedly, whole bodily, and we cheers to this.
Cheers with our boots.
With the boots.
Yeah.
Go like this. Go to the side. Cheers.
I don't know. I'm just cheering everywhere. And also just so the people who are, this is why people need to watch on YouTube, because in each of my hands, I have a bottle of kombucha because I fully believe that this conversation is going to be so good that I need backup booch. So that's where we're at.
BYOB. Bring your own booch.
Bring your own booch. As everyone knows, by the way, I'm Raya Gonzalez, the host of the Client Experience Revolution podcast. Thank you for being with us today. We just like go straight in when it's with Monique. Monique has been on the podcast multiple times. We've talked about her beautiful method of core wound healing. We have exciting updates with what core wound healing has brought into the universe over the last several months. We have a hard stop today. So those also who are watching on YouTube, I have this timer that marks the time in visual format so that I will not overspeak and overtalk. And
which everybody knows, like, no, I don't think people know that we need this because literally our conversations, our phone conversations are like 2.5 hours long.
They are.
Yeah, so we have to have a timer.
It's all sheer genius because you can't get these two brains together and not have like fireworks. It's amazing.
Yes, it's going to be
so today what I wanted to focus on, aside from the awesomeness of my biz bestie, was there has been a lot of growth in both of our businesses over the last year to 18 months. We've made a lot of big changes in staffing and format and offerings and, you know, all sorts of things. And what I wanted to do was like rewind and go back to the beginning and do like a day in the life / like what we, you know, where we came from and what the story is of how we came to where we are today in our business. Which Monique is the creator of Core Wound Healing. She is also the creator of the Self Healers Academy, which is also an app. Download it today. It's available in Google Play and in the Apple App Store. If you are not on this app, you are missing out. Even the free features are fucking amazing. There's so much going on, so many amazing people. And so I encourage you to do that. And then my business, of course, is Link Consulting Solutions. So today we're going to talk about, let's like take it back to the beginning and find out how we got to the place that we are today with the intention of not only being transparent, because everybody starts somewhere. Yeah. So if you're a listener and you're in the beginning of your journey, this is intended to encourage you to keep plugging forward. If you're someone who's midway in your journey, again, plug forward. If you're somebody who's advanced, remember where you came from and maybe pass it along in a mentoring way or just like, you know, attitude check yourself or whatever it is that you need in this journey, in this episode. So we wanted to do that. So let's just dive right in. So Monique, you have a very, very unique journey. So you started in corporate America and you transitioned out of that. Tell me a little bit about what you did in corporate and then how you went from working a very, very successful corporate career as a single mom, as a teen single mom, to doing other things. So talk to me about that.
Yes. So I was in the real estate industry, not as like real estate sales, but more on the back end and in leadership. And I actually worked my way up there. So even in that, there's like a beginning story and all of that. So even in the 17 years that I was in the industry, I worked my way up as like starting as a receptionist, all the way up to broker's assistant, and eventually to leadership over large teams, and was working directly with the banks. We were in the REO industry, and with, all of the house back then when the bubble burst and all of that stuff, I saw that whole change in the industry. And I was a single mom, and I was doing it full time, and I was balancing all of that, really creating the income, the life that I wanted for my daughter to be different than the life that I grew up in. What I didn't realize then, until, way later, was that I was chasing, even then in corporate, chasing all of the wrong things. I was chasing the money, I was chasing the titles, I was chasing the fancy cars and living by the beach, and all of the things that I was chasing even in a corporate capacity and in my roles there, to fulfill the voids that I was, that were hanging wide open, not knowing how else to fill them, right? And so I did that very successfully, made six figures as a single mom, growing up as a teen mom. I had no high school diploma. I just got a GED, but no college education. I just climbed the ladders with my tenacity and, smarts and knowing how to put systems and stuff together in my leadership, and did that. But even with all of that, even with the money, even with, everything that came along with it, the travel and meeting people, really the notoriety, I had a very established name in the industry and people knew who I was. None of that fulfilled me. I still was empty inside. I was miserable. I was working myself to the bone. At that point, I had married, I met my husband, got married, had more kids. And it was exhausting to be in that space. And I could hear, there came to a point where I knew that I wasn't living to my fullest potential and living at my highest and best. And I heard, and I truly believe everybody hears these whispers that we're made for more. This isn't it. Why are you doing this thing? Because as good as I was in leadership and in corporate and really climbing the ladder and doing all the things that I was doing, making money, I wasn't utilizing my gifts and talents, my literal God gifts and talents. And I knew I'm a creative at heart. I love leadership and I love leading people, but I love my creative aspects. So I love photography and I love writing. And I love all of these other things that you can't use in corporate real estate, right? None of that stuff. It's very hard, ego, move, hit the goals, sales goals, and all of that stuff, very driven in that way. And so I was very unfulfilled in every capacity. Sure, I was making money. Sure, I had a great stable job. Sure, I had all the things that everybody in the world tells you that you're supposed to have in order to feel fulfilled. And I didn't. I felt the exact opposite. And so I knew that something was I could feel my spirit being pulled. And it all started with one thing, one little decision. And I think this is really where everything started turning in a different direction. But it was one little decision to literally just take care of my body. The first God whisper that I heard, even as I was commuting 3 hours a day with two babies under 2 years old, kind of new in the very first years of a marriage, living far away from family and friends, building a whole new life in another county that I'd never lived in. And I literally heard honor your body, take care of your body. And I'm okay. I never did before. I never cared. I was very YOLO life, you only live once, eat what you want, do what you want, whatever. I didn't drink at that point anymore, but it was more about food and really just not even taking care of my body, not working out, not doing anything. And so I actually didn't tell anybody except my husband. I just looked and found a Beachbody coach and I signed up for Beachbody. And I started just doing that for myself. I literally spent 30 days committed to myself, to meal prepping, learning about health, clean eating, eliminating sugar, just eliminating all the shit that I didn't need in my life that I was also using to self-medicate, right?
Right.
And just all of that other stuff, because again, it wasn't, for me, it's not alcohol or drugs or smoking or anything like that. It was food and money. Give me all the food and all the money, and that will make me feel good for a hot second until it doesn't. So once I was getting clearing my body out of all the crap, it's I was more and more, I could feel stuff starting to shift. So then then that was like where it started changing completely. That was the corporate part.
I love that. And you did end up moving. What was what was the pivotal point where you moved? Was it done for you, or did you choose to move from corporate to becoming a Beachbody coach and building your own successful team? Because there's no there's no secrets in this.
No.
On this podcast, because we all know that I got my ass fired. So
no secret. I actually manifested getting fired. I didn't consciously do it. I'm positive that I did it subconsciously, and it's what I really wanted to do. And I definitely don't recommend this. And I tell my clients all the time, I encourage, especially because everybody that I work with, my private clients, one-on-one clients, they don't love it's the same story, right? Like, I don't love what I'm doing. I'm in this career or this position or this job because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, but that's not my soul's purpose. That's not what I'm here on earth to do. And so I'm like, okay, don't do it the way I did it. Follow your spirit, but do not get fired, because that's a really, it's just a wound that you're going to have to heal, first of all.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, there are other people. If there are other people, you just don't want to do that to yourself in general. But for me, I had other people involved that I didn't even consider. And I didn't even ask my husband about it. My husband is like the epitome of anti-MLM. He hates MLM with passion, but he loves me so much. And he was so supportive of me in this MLM. So here I was simultaneously at the same time. I was still commuting 3 hours a day. I was still with two kids under 2. I was still fulfilling my role in the corporate world. And then on the side, I was building my Beachbody business, right? I was building and doing all of that stuff as a Beachbody coach, because I saw my business brain, right? Like my business mind, my leadership self was like, if you could do all of everything that you've done in the corporate world, which is much harder, especially for women, to climb the ladders, get those positions, get into those spaces and in that money bracket. If you could do that, then you can totally do this in MLM. You could totally do this in network marketing. You've got this, right? So I was like all in. I could see the money potential. I was under very high ranking, number 1 leaders in the company. So I had all of the mentorship and leadership that I could glean from. And so I was all in. I would stay up all night long and create meal plans, because I went above and beyond for my clients, right? It's just how I roll anyways, but I was creating meal plans for them. I was going to people's houses on the weekends to meal prep with them and teach them how to meal prep. Not getting paid any extra. I was getting paid what their package was at that time, which was 30% of $160. You do the math. That's what I was getting paid, but I was doing it out of service, right? I wanted to just serve people and have them experience what I was experiencing on a personal level, which was the mind, body, spirit transformation.
Right.
That's what it did for me. And that's what I wanted them to experience. Well, I did. I built a team. I got the success started coming in. The money started coming in. The team building started coming in. All of that started coming together. I got, the recognition and walked across the stage with 30,000 people. There's literally, you could see on my Facebook, scroll back to 2017. You can see me waving across the stage on the giant jumbotron of excitement as I'm being honored for this rank that I achieved. And I was miserable. I was just as miserable in everything that I was doing there, because it was a literal mimic of what I had done it was a duplication of what I had done in corporate. It was exactly the same thing. I was chasing all of the wrong things for all of the wrong reasons, to again fill those voids that were still there, because God hadn't given me core wound healing yet. So it's all of that stuff led up to all of that. And it's I needed to experience that. I had to have my own breaking point and what I was willing to let go of in order to get what was even better than what I thought was going to be really great.
So I want to share something really juicy that you don't even know that just happened yesterday. So as we know, well, some people may not know, but my career started from the very bottom of healthcare. So I started out at if we go back further, I started at a hospital after doing the high school retail jobs and all that kind of stuff. I worked in a hospital as a telecommunications operator at first. Then I was a supervisor, and then I thought, well, if I can do this, I could work in a medical or a dental office. So then I started at a dental office, just doing like recare appointments, like calling people and say, hey, you're ready for your cleaning, and then I worked up to a multi-decade career working in administrative duties, working all my way up to the top of administrative management, where at the top of my career, I was managing multi-million-dollar provider practices, most of them specialty practices. I finished my bachelor's degree after a long period of time and decided that I wanted to do something more businessy. And that was the word that I used, because I was really like in an existential crisis. I was like, am I in healthcare because this is what I'm supposed to do? Or am I in healthcare because because this is what I've always done? And I worked for 2 years as a New York Life representative, did very, very well, also won awards there, but also found myself, in the same wounds, basically.
Yep.
I went back to healthcare and decided that I was going to become a nurse, which was a horrible idea. I don't know what I was thinking. And I was going to become, this is the best part, I was going to become a doctor of nursing practice, which is a PhD. So nurse practitioner in gerontology, which is for old people.
I mean, someone needs to do it, but it's definitely not you.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It's not you.
So I worked like a series of jobs where I was trying to get clinical experience. And what ended up happening, and what I've talked about before, is I worked in a job that was a horrible fit. I was having a lot of things happening in my personal life where I was caregiving for a family member. There was a lot of strife going on. And then I was working in this environment where basically people just hated me. And so I would go to work in the morning feeling this tension. I'm not a conflict person. And so it was absolutely horrible. And then I started drinking very, very heavily. And it complicated things. It never got in the way. Like I never like day drinked or, came to work drunk or hungover or anything like that. But I would drink just a ton. And then, so this weekend, this is bringing it back to the present, which is that's the like fastest riot rant that I've ever done.
I'm proud of you.
But thank you. Timer. But let me take a booch sip. So this weekend, I had to let somebody go on my team. And it was a very emotional thing because this person is actually an amazing human being, like just phenomenal human being, and has been with me for a long time. And I love this person so much, but there were two things. There was one, the fear that I wouldn't be successful if I didn't have that person. There were reasons why, but we won't get into those for privacy purposes. But this person, I was afraid that I would not be able to be successful without this person. And then also the biggest fear that I had, which you touched on, was this huge wound, which I've actually healed around, but it's just reared its fucking ugly head again, this huge wound around being fired. And then just knowing that I was going to inflict that on somebody else. And I don't necessarily feel like what I did was fire that person, because we have an agreement where they're going to work for me for a little while and then we're going to separate and have this easy transition. But it still feels heavy. And then I spent all of yesterday just feeling like wallowing in a breakup situation. And I had 2 loan signings yesterday, and one was kind of annoying. And then the other one, I got lost, and I'm like running around crazy trying to find it. And the maps are like taking me a weird way. And then I end up at a building, and it was the building where I worked, and I was fired.
No, stop it.
And so I was able to stay composed. I do, like very professional throughout the appointment, but I got out to my car and I grabbed the steering wheel and I just broke down because I'm like, this is where it happened. This is where it started. This is where my life changed forevermore. And then I'm like, there's the restaurant where I would go get drunk after work and sleep it off in my car because I couldn't handle my real life. And I just like allowed all the emotions to like wash over me. But like something so horrible that happened to me, at least it felt so horrible, like propelled me into something. It like highlighted that, no, actually, I built this thing. And this transition for this person is a beautiful transition. Like I'm giving her a gift of being able to work in her best and highest self because she is worth so much more than what I can offer her. She is so much more talented than what I'm giving her. And I love her so much that I would never stifle that talent. Yeah. And I'm going to be okay. It sure felt sucky as hell. And I was like, more wounds to heal. You know what I mean? But it was like, it was surreal. Like, you can't make this shit up. No. Like, you cannot. Like, literally, I almost think, and I'm not even shitting you, that I was parked in the same spot. Like,
you know what's crazy, though? Here's what's crazy is, like, what a difference from when you were fired and how you felt versus how you're handling it as a leader and in her best interest, because that's not really when the company let you go. And it was the same for me too, right? When the company let me go and let you go, it's for their best interest. Well, this employee isn't matching up to what we want them to be or who we think that they should be or do the things that they should do, or they're not showing up, whatever, XYZ. In my case, it was different. I actually was standing up for myself, and this man didn't like that, right? And so when I stood up for myself and told him, you can't treat me that way, then I was done. But I knew that was going to happen. Like I knew the moment I stood up for him, because no one stood up to him for themselves ever. Even if I encouraged them to, they're like, oh no, that's just leave it. Just let him do his thing. Let him say what he's going to say. And I was like, no, fuck that.
That is not the Monique Gaffney way.
That is not, no, I mean, like, I wouldn't do it. So that's what the second I stood up for myself to him was the second it was over and he fired me. But I knew that was going to happen. So that's what I'm saying. Like I knew I was manifesting it, but I think the like moral of the story, and for anyone listening, is the things that, we know this, but I think when we really are conscious and really take the time to step out of the things that have happened and step into, especially people who are listening and are, you're leaders, you're leading someone somewhere, whether it's a team or people who are following you. And I just taught on this month, but you're always leading someone somewhere. And so what have you experienced like this, being fired or being let go or something like that, where you can show up differently as a leader and do it differently so that it feels different for people on the receiving end? And that was like, that's been a huge for me in growth and leadership, is looking back and reflecting back on all of the kind of shitty situations that I went through. I mean, I take ownership of them, right? Like I got fired because I shouldn't have even been in there anyways, but I took the job for the money because it was good money. And I worked for this asshole who was like, wanted to just talk shit. And he was like a total racist and like,
that was my stitch too. Not the racism, but it was like
a bazillionaire, right? Like a bazillionaire. So nobody wanted to like stand up to him. And so it's like, I knew I shouldn't have probably been in this position anyways. Not that I wasn't qualified for it, but it wasn't a good energetic match. Yeah, that's my ownership of it. I took a job that I shouldn't have taken. And so then when I was let go, it was, again, I take ownership of the way like what happened, right? It just happened the way it happened. But now as a leader and leading a team and leading people and leading followers somewhere, I don't ever want anyone to feel that way. Like I don't want anyone to feel the way that I felt in that. And I want to treat people differently as a leader. And I think it's so valuable when we can, because we're only able to do this from a healed space. In an unhealed space, we blame and we don't take ownership and we say like, fuck them, they're assholes, which they might be. But again, wounded people continue to wound people, hurt people, right? From our healed space, like we're able to look back and say, I don't want to be that kind of leader. I don't want to hurt people the way I was hurt. Like, even if it's kind of a sucky situation and we have to let people go from our teams or employees or whatever, it doesn't have to feel the same way that it felt when we were on the receiving end. And I think that's the most like valuable and beautiful thing, when you can look back and say, how can I show up different based on everything that I've experienced and being in that same position.
Well, and I think that really highlighted it. It came full circle for me in two ways. Like it showed me like how different I am, even though I still have wounds around that event, and changes and things that need to be made around that event personally, but how the growth that's happened and the healing that's happened since that occurred, but also like the awareness of the love that I want to show and the respect that I want to show, because everyone deserves to be treated with that level of respect, especially people that you esteem so highly. And I would hope that that's this situation, but it really brought me back to like ground zero, because that's where my business started, was not right away. I had to take some time where I like wallowed for a little bit and was scared and like not sure what I was going to do. And my poor husband also not sure what the hell was happening. And then from there kind of floundering a little bit. And unfortunately for me, I didn't have like a structure to like move into. So I think that's amazing that you had like Beachbody already in place for yourself in taking care of your body and in taking like something that you believed in where you could like move into. I just kind of did what, I had been, in some ways I had been working on the side for somebody else. And so I had like some consistency where I just continued to work on the side for the other person. Mm-hmm. And God bless, I would like to shout out Stacy Spellman and Steph Howe for loving on me enough to allow me to be the shit show that I was during that period of time, and allowing me to continue to serve them during that time, because I really was a mess and I like just owned it. And I was like, look, I'm a shit show right now. But they were just like, it's okay, be a shit show for us. It's fine. We love you. So, like just recognizing like where was the like pivotal point for you? It was like that stage, like waving and going, yeah, this is not like, I thought this was it. And for me, it was like, oh shit, I'm not going to be a doctor of nurse, practitioner of gerontology. Yeah. That's actually not my journey, because I have literally done all the things. God, I did all the things. I did them. I get emotional when I think about it. I did all the things that I needed to do to get to that thing that I thought. And it was like, close the door, close the door, close the door, close the door. And then I was like, okay, I don't know. I don't know. And maybe the listeners are thinking that too. Like maybe that's where you're at right now, where you don't know, or maybe you can remember a time when you didn't know and you had to go deep in to say like, what is in me? And I repeat this quote a lot of times. Tama Keeves is who I do my daily meditation through. And she has this quote in one of her meditations, and she says, you are the answer. She said, you were born to solve a problem, and you are the answer to that problem. You were born to solve a problem, and you are the answer to that problem. And so it's, and you talk about how we are born knowing that and we forget, and it's about chasing to get back to that purpose. And so that's really where we're at. And so, since that point, there was a midpoint for us, and we kind of met in that midpoint where we had business was rolling, we had some stuff happening, things were going, we met and instantly fell in love and had a friendship baby. Yep. And it was gorgeous.
And it's here and it's amazing. It's adorable.
Yes. So let's talk about the midpoint. What was, like, what was it going on in the midpoint of your journey? Like, what did your business look like? And, where was your head at that time?
Yeah. So, well, in between, August 2017, that was like right after I had waved on stage for Beachbody in July 2017. August 2017 was when I had my full surrender moment to God. And I'm like, I can't keep living this bullshit lie anymore. And like showing up on social media, like everything's great and building this business that doesn't resonate with my soul. Like, God, you got to show me a way out. So Core Wound Healing was born, and you guys go listen to our other podcast and how that all came to be. I don't know what episode that was, but in the 40s.
We'll hook it up in the show notes.
We'll link it in there. So you can listen to that whole story, how that came to be. I immediately from that point, because I'm very business minded, very goal driven, very goal oriented. This time it was different because it was connected to my soul's purpose, right? So I knew that I was here to bring this modality, these 6 keys, to help people heal their past, heal trauma, heal limiting beliefs, heal whatever was holding them back from remembering their purpose, and then serving the world the way that they're called and created to. Because that's what I was doing. Like God was walking me through that, and I knew I was here to bring that path for others to walk. And so I immediately hired a spiritual business coach, because this is the spiritual realm, right? Like what I'm teaching is business related, but it's still on the spiritual side. So I hired a business coach. I'd never done that before, and I invested every penny into it. Okay, I was making. It just depended. Like, MLM, it's very revenue driven, and it just depends. So I would get paid weekly, but whatever I could commit to paying every single week. I think her program was like $1,200 at that point. I did not have $1,200. And my husband was definitely not going to give me $1,200 after all of the money, years of investing in Beachbody. So I took all of my Beachbody money that was coming in, and I paid for that program every week. Never failed. I at least had $100 every single week that I could pay her. If I had more, great. If I didn't, whatever. The 100 went straight to, shout out to Andy Love, because that was my first coach. She's amazing. So I kicked off, launched my spiritual coaching business. But again, there was still stuff that was not super, it was very cookie cutter, right? What she taught was like a lot of people who get into consulting or business coaching or spiritual coaching or life coaching or whatever, you kind of fall into another box of like, this is the model, this is how it goes, this is what you do. And it wasn't super, again, aligned with me. I still had more wounds to heal. Remember, I was like baby healing. I just started healing. I'd only healed like 2 wounds with Core Wound Healing. And then here I go launching my business, which is okay. But it still wasn't 100% aligned. But I kept healing forward, moving forward, doing all the things, right? Like doing every single thing, like buying the courses, doing the this, doing the that. What are they doing over here? Instead of, like you were saying, I was meditating, I was going inward, I was getting the downloads. Like a lot of my stuff was downloaded, like divine download stuff God was giving to me. But there was still like a disconnection. And so I spent the interim of those years kind of it was very up and down still. It felt different. Here's what I wanted to say. And I think it's very important that people hear this, even though, entrepreneurship is, it's a ride anyways, right? Like you're going to go up, you're going to go down, you're going to like kind of go even at some points, especially in the beginning, if you don't have super clarity. I did not have super clarity. And so then it felt very up and down. I would get clients. I was making money. I was making a lot more money than I was ever making with Beachbody. But it felt different because I was doing what I'm here to do. Like I absolutely loved it. I wasn't feeling like I was burnt out. I wasn't feeling like I was burning the candle at both ends. I wasn't feeling like that chase feeling was gone. It just felt very good in my soul and my spirit and my body, but I couldn't get the consistency going. I hadn't really branded myself and separated myself, even though I had something unique and distinct and different. And I knew that. There's nothing out there. Core Wound Healing is Core Wound Healing. There's literally nothing out there in the world. And I knew this, but I still didn't have, in between that first business mentor, I didn't hire anybody else to show me a better way. Like go out, brand yourself, market yourself, do the things like in the online sense, different from what MLM teaches, because MLM teaches it very differently, right? And so I was still not getting the same consistent results. I was changing people's lives. It felt very good, but it's like, I need this to grow because it doesn't feel good to me. We should get paid for our good work, no matter what you're doing. I do believe that it's okay to get paid for your good work. And so when we met, it was this, that was like 2.5 years or whatever of me trying to like figure it out on my own. And when we met, it was again a very like resigned, surrendered thing. Like, God, okay, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel good anymore. Like me trying to figure it out doesn't feel good anymore. You got to show me what to do. And then magically, we both ended up like I met you in that same business incubator, and that's really made the huge difference because I got very, very clear. I already knew what I was supposed to do. So there wasn't like, who am I? What am I doing here? Is this the right thing? Like all of that was done because I had already gotten all that hashed out, right? So I came into this program knowing who I was, knowing what I'm serving up to the world. Just show me how to do this and package it in a way that's going to really separate me from everyone else. And that happened. And that's where it all shifted a year ago from now. I signed up in February, but it really took off in April, May of 2020. And then everything just, like literally like shot off, catapulted.
Tell us where you are and what's happening right now in your business since January of 2021.
Yeah. Even crazier. It's crazy how quickly everything can change. The more clear you get, the more you surrender. Like, Gabby Bernstein says this a lot. If you think you've surrendered, surrender more. Do you surrender and surrender and surrender over and over and over again? And I say, you think you've healed some more. Like you keep healing, you keep staying in surrender mode and allowing God, your higher power, whatever you call God, to lead you in the direction and stay open to taking those next steps, which was always my commitment. It's just, we're human and we get in our own way sometimes. But in January 2021, again, I heard very clearly that I needed to do something different. And I knew that it was time to take this into the masses of the world in a bigger way. And so I started doing the work to launch our own app, which you mentioned in the beginning. And so we launched in March. So for the last, it's almost been total 3 months, we have our own app launched, which is the Self Healers Academy. And it's a sacred space for people who want to heal. So there is a membership option. You can go in there for free. Anybody can come in for free and just check it out. We do free teachings and stuff in there too, but there's lots of free resources. But there is a membership option, and it's teaching you to activate the self-healer within. Because it's just like you said, that lady says the answer's inside of you, like whatever problem you have, it's there. It is like we can heal our own life, and you can activate that self-healer within. All 6 simple steps, literally, you can take anything and completely shift the energy that you feel around it, no matter what has happened, like the darkest of the dark stuff and the stuff that seems like it's not so dark, like it's just your mind messing with you. Literally shifts anything. And so that's where we're at right now. But even in that, we have a book we're getting ready to launch, a collaborative book for clients that you're going to be in, that we have 6 contributing writers. So we're working on that in the back end. I am I have a whole mapped out plan and strategy going into how I'm serving the network marketing and MLM industry, because that is my heart, is to help women not feel the way that I felt in there, because I love the MLM industry. I love the business. I love the model. I love what it can do for people, but especially women, helping them step into leadership in that industry bigger than what anyone else has done, and more consistently. We should have more leaders in MLM, and there are not many. And it's my heart to bring healing, but also helping them scale their own network marketing businesses as leaders in the industry, and then branching out into their purpose. So I have a whole program that's about to launch. Like, this is all since January. It's crazy pants, but here's the crazy part, is it feels good. I don't feel busy. I don't feel overworked. I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't feel like anything is like today is like the busiest day of the week, I think.
And it's all, I've had the privilege of watching it happen. It's all just kind of unfolded. Like, that's the best way to describe it. It's all just unfolded. It's not been like, a lot of people try to force all these things to happen. And like, it's just not like there's been no forcing. It's just happened. Like even the app, like just how that all came together. And there are people who struggle and struggle and struggle. And it's just not, how many members do you have on the app so far? And this is, again, people, this has only been since at the time of recording, we are mid-May. So this has only been open for 2.5 months. How many members in your app?
So we have users. We have 200, I want to say like 73 users, actual like app users, people have downloaded the app. And members, we have 57. So paying members, we have 57 paying members in our app community. So it's, in 2.5 months, it feels really good to have, and it's beautiful to see these people committed to their growth and their healing and pursuing their purpose and doing the work that, we have to do the work in order to get there. So yeah, it feels really, really good.
That's only in 2.5 months. That's insane. Before we run out of time, there are 2 really important questions that I want to get, or 3. And so we'll do like speed round.
Great.
What are the best investments that you have made in the different stages? You don't have to do each stage, but in along the way, what are the best investments that you have made? And it can be anything like systems, coaching, whatever it might be. What are the, people, whatever it might be. What are the best investments that you have made in your business at the different stages along the way?
Yeah. Number one is 1,000% if you're just starting, getting into some sort of like program, like a business program or something that shows you how to get everything set up, because I think that's crucial. Instead of you trying to figure it out and piecemeal it like this, here, there, it's going to take you a long time versus getting into a program and having a mentor that's like guiding you to the next right step to make sure that you have a good business foundation set up. I think that's huge. The second thing, this is what I think should be step 1 before even that, or simultaneously. And this is probably the biggest tip that people, it just like, it hurts my soul for my own self before, because I did this even, is get an assistant. Like investing in you and finding my dream assistant was a massive component to my exponential growth last year. We cannot do it all. You want to do it all as an entrepreneur, and especially as a solopreneur, you feel like you have to do it all. The biggest hiccup is saying like, I don't have the resources. I don't have the money. Like I can't afford it. I can't pay, blah, blah, blah. It's all bullshit. Because I had an assistant even in Beachbody, because I knew in Beachbody, I was burning the candle at both ends. And I even hired an assistant back then just to post on my social media, but I couldn't sustain it because my heart wasn't in it to bring the income in to keep her going. There was just no point to pay her, but I saw the difference in that. And I think that's the biggest, if you want to grow fast, get help. Like stop saying that you can't afford it, because then you're saying that you can't afford to grow, period. You can't afford an assistant, you can't afford to grow. Then you're going to stay where you're at for a really long time.
I would 100% agree with that, getting an assistant. And then I would also say that the business coaching was actually crucial to me. I think my mistake in business coaching, and one that I would recommend, is if you're in the clarity phase, get a business coach that is more generalist, that can help you set up like the actual fundamentals of being in business. And help you while you're getting into the clarity phase. So really do your research, get referrals. Don't try to go to some niche business coach. You really need the fundamentals of being in business, and that's super important. And so there's so many shiny things that we could do when we're in business. You don't need all the courses. You don't. Which leads us to the next question is, what are the investments that you could have lived without that you desperately thought you needed?
All the Instagram, tactical, Pinterest, like all those little mini courses that seem like, oh, I'll invest in this. I'll spend $100 on this little mini course, or $200 on this fine because I'll have it forever. It's like we can justify that as solopreneurs. Like I can't afford to pay an assistant, but I can afford to buy all these courses. If you added up all of those little courses that you buy here, there, and everywhere, and the books that you download and purchase, and all of that stuff that you keep thinking like the more knowledge you have, the faster you're going to grow. I promise you first to put all that money into assistant. Okay. That's going to get you way further faster. But all of those, like I was still, even though I had clarity, even though I knew what I was doing, I knew who I was, I knew who I wanted to serve. I was still chasing tactic stuff. Like I didn't have strategy. And I think that's the biggest mistake that entrepreneurs make is they chase the tactics versus the strategy. And there's a massive difference. And especially in network marketing, people will leave the network marketing industry, which is all tactics based. Like they want you to chase the next biggest and go do reels, go do TikTok, go do, whatever, be on Pinterest, like tactical shit instead of strategy and looking at your business. Like what's your big end goal? And then what are the steps to take to get there? And that's not taught in the industry. It's taught like hurry up and do the next cool thing so that maybe you can get somebody to buy your shit. And that's it, that whole mental thing, it leads into when they launch a coaching business or decide to do something different or get into some sort of entrepreneurial journey. They stick that's old way, old learning. And so it's super important that I don't buy any of the bullshit tactical shit. Like save that for after you have a strategy. Like that comes second. Get a strategy first, and then you can bring in the tactics, fun stuff.
Love it. And very last question is, of all of this journey that you've gone through, which is like so juicy, fun, amazing, you could write a book just about your journey, which you should. And you will, yeah. And what would you say is your greatest accomplishment so far? However that is defined for you. What would you say your greatest accomplishment is?
You know what? Oh my gosh, this is like going to make me choke up. I think my greatest accomplishment is, and this just happened recently. My daughter, my 9-year-old, she's my middle, but it's like, we know that our kids are watching, our family's watching, and they all are forming their own beliefs and opinions about what we're doing as entrepreneurs, right? Some like will support us and they'll believe in us, and especially kids don't necessarily really know what we're doing. The more clarity I had in what I was doing, the more I showed up in the world the way that I was supposed to, and the way when I started bringing this out, like we want people in the world to know who we are, know what we're doing, right? Like that feels good to have that recognition, but don't discount how good it feels when your family knows who you are, what you're doing, and that you're so serious about this journey that you're on as an entrepreneur, whatever business that it is that you're in, and that you know that you're here to make an impact with your work. My daughter, my 9-year-old, first of all, she asked specifically for, she calls them the healing shirts. So I have, my brand of shirts that are like core wound healing, and they have keys and stuff on them. So she asked for her own healing shirts, which I got her. And so she wears them. But for Mother's Day, they had we went to this restaurant and they had like the sheet of paper, and it's like, all about mom. And so we took it home and they filled them out. And it said, "What is your mom really good at?" And she wrote healing. And I was like that alone, like that's what she thinks I'm really good at. It wasn't like cooking a meal or loving her up. It was like she sees how good I am in my purpose. Like that's all I want. That's the legacy I want to leave, is my purpose that I was done here with my time on earth and nothing else. Like they know I love them. They know that that's not even a question, but to see me and the heart of me and what I'm doing and how I'm serving this earth, that my kids see that's my greatest accomplishment.
I love that. And I love you.
I love you.
And I love that we beat the clock.
Well, so I think
I just want everyone to connect with Monique, download the app. Tell us your own journey. We want to know what you have gone through, what steps you've taken, how you've grown, what weird ass thing propelled you into this crazy ass journey. We want to hear it, and we're here for it is what I meant to say, and we're here for you. So this has been another episode of the Client Experience Revolution podcast. I am your host, Raya Gonzalez. I'm here with Monique Gaffney, goddess of all of the things. Thanks for joining us, and we hope that you will join us next time. Thank you so much.